A strange experience. 2 days ago, I was with my friends at a party. Everything okay and boring for me because I cannot drink alcohol. I have stomach problems. Nevertheless, we had some fun, left the party early, and went to a friend's house to chill. After a couple of minutes, I had some of his friends come in to join us. Several hours passed, and because it was getting very late, I wanted to leave for home. Some friends of his decided to take me home in the car, and before we reached the car, we saw several men out in front of car. Many who looked drunken, but I wasn't expecting any kind of trouble. As I walked past the car to get to the back seat, waiting for the owner to let me in, a man approached from that group and told him to get inside the house because he was needed by someone. It appeared to me the owner knew this guy because he did exactly that. Without opening the car or telling me anything, I just stood there for a couple of seconds, then decided to walk back in the house to see if he's still willing to take me home or I should go on my own. I had my driver's license suspended due to an accident a few years ago. I went in the house, could not see the owner, and said goodbye again to some friends while I was thinking of my journey home. Because the public transport at that hour does not work, it was about 4 a.m. I live in Eastern Europe, by the way. I don't know if in the USA the public transport system differs, but in that same time, a man that was outside apparently walked in the house with two more guys, and it caught my attention. He had a medium brown, darkish hair, slim with loose clothes. Very common looking, actually, but that was not the thing that caught my attention. When he entered the house, I just had a strong feeling coming from him that I cannot describe that well. He looked at me. He had dark brown glassy eyes, did not say anything, but then he started to move around, and like nobody was noticing him, even the two guys that went with him, and that's when I realized his movements were so unnatural or weird. Like as if he was going further, it seemed like he was going backwards. His arms were behind his back as he moved. The feeling I had was not fear though, like you would be scared of an unknown, like ghosts, demons, the dark, or horror movies, etc. This was a feeling I had a few times when someone died or saw something very graphic and gore related. Kind of the same feeling, and my brain just rewired in a way like you suffered a real psychological trauma. I swear I could feel it in my brain. It was the same feeling I had when I watched someone years ago falling off the stairs with blood running from his ears. It was not fear, but like the brain rewiring itself somehow. He looked at me intensely, which seemed at that time a very long period, and I could not move. I now remember opening my mouth halfway and just staring back at him, eyes wide open and fixating my vision at him. But I did not want to make contact with his eyes. Subconsciously, I think I told myself not to look for some reason. He never spoke a word or someone else engaging him. He went straight for the door after making these rounds inside the house, and for a second he stood under the door entrance and turned his head again to look at me. He was pale white and in a way evoked the same feeling in me as before. He left. I tried to gather and tell myself that there was nothing wrong at all in all this, and left my friend's house for home. I forgot about the whole thing while outside was freezing and me walking in snow, feeling sleepy and tired, until I saw him again near a closed travel agency building. He was ahead of me, leaning against the glass walls. He did not seem to notice me, but I knew then that it was him. I switched sides on the sidewalk to get some distance and with one eye looking over in his direction. He noticed me halfway and smiled shortly. I could not see his face better because of the snow and distance, but I noticed his mouth was deep red, almost bloody. I picked up the pace, worrying that He might follow, but he stood his ground. And shortly after, we were out of range and on my way home. I tend to smoke a lot. I had this irrational fear when I got home and lit up a cigarette with my window open that someone might come in, and I was thinking of him specifically. Though I live in an apartment at the 15th floor. Nothing happened, of course, and I went to sleep. To this hour, I'm writing this, I remember vividly the same feeling I had when I encountered this man, and I cannot shake it up. Somehow, I get a mental image and visualize this man as I did back then. Somehow not human, and yet human enough not to be afraid in a way I would be of the deep supernatural. I guess only one word came to my mind when I think of him, a sort of a vampire. Though strangely enough, it is not from any book or fiction or myth I know of. But I keep sensing him like that. I don't know why. I could tell myself that this nothing out of the ordinary. But the experience and the feelings I went through were anything but ordinary. I have kept in mind that I cannot ignore them, and subconsciously I give them credence. I'm sure now more than ever. This was not a human. I sensed he wasn't human from the first moment I saw him. My family's vampire story. So, this is the story that my grandma told me. So, it may not be exactly accurate, but I'll try and tell it the best I can. More than 7 years ago, my great grandfather died of a heart attack. He was, of course, buried like any other person. Here we have a tradition that every 5 years we lift the remains of the deceased, and the family can decide if they should put the body somewhere else or leave it there. This is mostly done to empty the spaces in the graveyard if the deceased doesn't have any families. So they raised my great grandfather's remains, but the weird thing was that he had not decomposed. He looked exactly as if he was buried just then. After 5 more years had passed, they went to lift his remains again, but this time the coffin was empty. This is not how this story ends. 10 years after all of this happened, my aunt, that was 8 at the time, was home alone. One day, she heard a strange noise in the house and went to investigate. In the kitchen, there was a strange man that looked at her and said, "Don't be scared. I just came to see my first great granddaughter." And then he just disappeared. Later that day, she told her parents, and after describing the man, they went to get an old photo album and she identified my great granddad. When my grandma tells this story, she tends to omit the last part that my aunt told me. According to my grandma, the priest probably sold my great grandfather's corpse because it wasn't decomposing. And she says that my aunt is lying about having seen him. And that is it for this story.